Retro review time again, and I've got a beauty for you today. Today I'm looking at the Odyssey Dual Force Rossie 2 putter. Now those of you in the know will know this was made famous by Nick Faldo at the 1996 Masters, and as always on Retro Review we're putting it up against a modern day equivalent, so I'm looking at the Odyssey Rossie Ai One double bend putter. Now we've teamed up with Golf Clubs for Cash, one of the leading retailers of pre-loved equipment. We're going to see how these stack up against each other. Let's go. So the Rossie 2 is really the putter that paved the way for Odyssey to become what they are today, and paved the way for other models like the 2-ball, like the number 7, the Fang that you'll all be familiar, and loads of familiar Odyssey models. Now, essentially this was a face balanced putter, and it came with some really cool alignment aids. So on the top of the flange here, we've got 3 alignment aids that sit on the leading edge and 2 that sit on the back. So it was really super easy to line up. And another benefit of that is it kind of helped you with your eye line. I always found if you try and get those 2 lines to match up when you're looking down on them, you could be pretty sure your eyes were in a really nice place over the ball. It was one of the first putters ever to use an insert, which really affected the feel and enhanced that feel. And again, really paved the way for some later technologies, which you'll see present on this Ai One. So we've got the white hot insert, this has become really, really familiar. And we've got the Ai One face that sits behind there, which is all designed to increase the MOI and increase your performance off your miss-hit putts. Loads of other technological advancements here. We've got interchangeable weights, we've got the stroke lab shaft. There's a lot more going on here. So I think it's time to see whether the technological advancements have made all the difference and see if this can still stack up against the competition. So before we get the first impressions here, let's get the numbers out of the way. I picked this up for $48.99, less than £50 for a putter that's won multiple majors. That's a really, really good deal. When you consider the Ai One that I'm putting it up against retails at around $289.99, there's quite a significant difference there, I think you'll agree. So in terms of first impressions, down by the ball, I've used this putter a lot in the past. It was really a very familiar look for me. I love the abundance of alignment aids, as I mentioned. They're really prevalent on the top, and it makes it really, really easy to point this putter where you want to point it. And this is one of the first putters with an insert, so it'll be really interesting. Yeah, that's really nice. A little low on the blade, but it still felt really, really soft. So it just ran out of pace because I hit it a little lower on the blade. But really, with that very simple alignment aid, and that super soft feel, it's just burned the lip there. That's a really, really nice feeling putter. It's giving me vibes of Faldo 96 already. I'm really enjoying this one already. A little bit off the toe, still maintain its speed and just lipped out on the left edge. So that's a really interesting one. Let's grab those balls back and we'll hit a couple of putts with the Ai One and get some first impressions of that as well. Okay, so the first thing I noticed about the Ai One when I put it in behind the ball is it's a little bit deeper, so there's more depth to this head. It's a bit rounder and it's a little bit larger, which is likely to give us a little bit more MOI and a little bit more forgiveness. The alignment aids are still very, very clear, although they've gone away from the sort of wider corresponding lines on the top edge to be able to match to the back edge. So they've lost that kind of, as I said, accidental training aid, if you like, although it is still really, really clear to line up. Secondly, I would say it's definitely a much more premium looking head. The sort of dark navy finish is really, really smart. And the white alignment aids really contrast nicely against that sort of dark navy finish. We've got the very, very popular white hot insert, which is essentially made from the same material as a golf ball. So matching those feels has always been a real winner. And we've got more features everywhere. We've got a weight plate on the bottom. We've got interchangeable weights in the heel and toe to spread that weight. And we've got that Ai One face behind the ball, which we know gives us some assistance on miss hits. Not only that, we've got more tech in the shaft. We've got the stroke lab technology in the shaft. So in theory, this putt is packed with an awful lot more features. So it'll be really interesting to see how it performs. Like I say, as with the other Rossie, really easy to line up. I would argue that's slightly firmer to the feel. It's done a great job. It's rolled straight in for me. I would argue that's slightly firmer in the feel. Coming off really, really nicely. That probably would have gone in had it not glanced that ball as well. Yeah, rolling really nicely off that face. That's arguably, that was probably 3 out of 3 from this 22 foot range for the newer technology there. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how it gets on when we start putting it on some more official tests. Okay, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, let us know in the comments what you'd like me to take a look at in my next retro review. Okay, so I'm down here at Frilford Heath Golf Club, which is beautiful, by the way, and I've set up a 70-foot putt on this par 3. So lag putting is crucial to your score, not only to your score, but also to your short putting, because obviously the closer you can lay these, the more chance you've got holding the next putt, so it's really, really important. In theory, the tech behind the new modern putter, the Ai One face, the stroke lab shaft, everything that goes into this should make it a little bit more forgiving on these longer putts, and this is where people generally miss the center of the face when they're putting more swing and more oomph into the putt. So in theory, this is where it should come into its own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit 6 putts with each. I've got my handy tape measure with me here, and I'm going to measure each single putt. I'm going to add them up each, so I'm going to hit 6 with each, add them up. The cumulative total, in theory, obviously the one that's got less distance will be the winner in this test. So let's go. I'm going to start with the Ai One putter. And as I said, in theory, this should be significantly more advanced in this test with its technology. I'll block that one a little bit to start with. Just a little bit shy of pace. Actually, that did better than I thought, and that's an interesting one. That's quite low on the face, so I'm wondering whether a bit of Ai One technology helped me there. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer this time. Really good for pace. 2 pretty good there, 1 a bit iffy. I'll go and measure them, then we'll go again. Right, so I'm not too displeased with those. 1 particularly poor strike to start with, but I think I was flattered a bit by the Ai One there. I had 5.92 meters in total for those 6 putts. So let's see if the old one's still got the magic. It's a very different look to look down on. We've got slightly different alignment aids, but it is comfy. It's like a familiar feeling. I gamed this putter. That was a nicely struck putt, really good for weight. That's a great start, little kick in there. Okay, great, another one stone dead. I'll go and measure those and I'll get back to you. Okay, there you go. So the old Rossie came in at 5.3 meters versus 5.92 from the Ai One. So really interesting there. In this test at least, a small victory for the old Rossie 2, best part of 30 years old Rossie 2 there. Now, it's not necessarily a hugely fair test because when I went first with the Ai One, obviously I'm getting a feel for the pace and a feel for the line. So if I wanted to be 100% scientifically accurate, I'd probably do it a few more times and vary the sort of the order that I go in to make that fair. But for the purposes of this test, we're calling it a victory for the old Rossie. So that's a long range test, but we all know, and you've probably seen from some of my long range putts there, occasionally I leave myself a little more than a tap in. So I need to know that these putters can do their business from short range. And this is a really crucial point. This is 8 foot, which for those of you who don't know is the 50-50 point for the PGA Tour averages. May seem strange, you might think they hold everything from here, but on the PGA Tour, 50% of these putts go in and 50% miss. So this will be a really good barometer for how these putters are performing. So I'm going to go with the Ai One first this time to give it a slightly better chance. I'm going to hit 10 putts with each of these, and I want to see how they perform under pressure, out of 10, how they do. So I'm going to go straight away with the Ai One and get into it. So this putt's a little bit off the right, so it's probably right edge, and that's a really nice solid start. I remember watching Mark Brooks, the American Mark Brooks, win the US PGA with the old Odyssey Rossie, so this is giving me good feelings. He held out really well that time. Slight pull there. Okay, that's 2 out of 3. I'm going to speed it up now, take you through the 10 and see how we get on. Okay, so that's 6 out of 10 there. So that's above PGA Tour average. I'm not displeased with that at all. So that's a reasonable start from the Ai One. Let's have a go with the Rossie 2. So I mentioned Mark Brooks there. He was another US PGA Tour player who had this original Dual Force Rossie 2 in. Another one of my favourite players of all time, Annika Sorenstam, she used this putter a lot and she was one of the best holer-outers I've ever seen. So I'm going to try and channel my inner Annika here and see if I can beat 6 out of 10. That's it. So a tougher start there for the original Rossie 2, but when it needed to, like in 1996 for Nick Faldo at the Masters, it came up clutch under pressure, delivered me a really good finish there, and it tied the Ai One at 6 out of 10, both just above PGA Tour average, which I'm quite pleased with. And for a putter that's cost me less than £50, when you couple that with the long range test we've just done, that really is quite interesting. So that was a lot of fun. It's always nice to pick up clubs that I've used before and see how they stack up against modern day competition. And I think you'll see from the tests we did there, this can still very much cut the mustard. For $48.99 versus a putter that's costing $289.99, in those tests at least, it did a really, really good job. Now I can hear you in the comments below already saying, well, maybe those aren't fair tests. You need to do more. There needs to be a longer test period to get a fair reflection. And I think you're probably right. From the technology behind this, and I've used this putter as well quite a lot, I think over the course of time, the extra forgiveness, the extra MOI would probably come through and start to show itself over some longer periods of time. And undoubtedly, from an aesthetics point of view and a premium feel point of view, the Ai One is still very much probably the superior putter. But you should never count out the underdog. The Odyssey Dual Force Rossie 2, it's won majors. It started off a whole era of putting for Odyssey. And like I said, for under £50, I think that's exceptional value.